What we need to realize is that this world, this physical world with the government and the societal structure, they convinced you that it's a patriarchy. But if it were a patriarchy, all men would be thriving. At least that's what we think. The truth is, especially now that a lot of conspiracies are finally being affirmed and confirmed, that we actually live in a narcissistic, psychopathic oligarchy. It's a narcissistic, psychopathic oligarchy that has convinced most people to believe that we are living in a patriarchy. And what does that do? It turns the women against the men. It turns the feminine against the men. Hence this whole epidemic of unspoken toxic femininity, feminine narcissism. Now, what we really need to understand is that whether it's considered a patriarchy or whether we shift into what a lot of people think we need a matriarchy, we're just shifting from one extreme to the other. But when it comes to Christ consciousness, union consciousness, it is the union of opposites. What we need is a heirogamy, the heirogamos, the union of opposites. And it doesn't mean that men need to be a perfect balance of masculine and feminine, but it does mean there needs to be a harmony within a masculine container or body with the feminine. There needs to be an acknowledgement of that. And same with the feminine. People who embody a feminine body must have a harmony with the masculine. This whole narcissistic, psychopathic oligarchy has just planted so much lies, deception, deceit for generations, to the point where people don't even question it, and generation after generation have been growing up in a cognitive dissonance. And what I mean by a narcissistic, psychopathic oligarchy, now that the Epstein files are finally coming to the surface, I can honestly say that there is corruption going on, and they have programmed so many generations to believe that there is no corruption going on. That's what narcissists do. That's exactly what narcissists do. And they put the blame on you. They put the blame on us, on each other, and we're all fighting each other. We're all blind to what is happening. We're all blaming him, blaming her, blaming this, blaming that. But what really brings this heirogamy into existence is our own inner union and harmony of masculine and feminine polarities. In metaphysics, and I always go back to metaphysics because this is what Soul Symphonics is based on: metaphysical law, natural law, the intelligence of nature and the cosmos. Everything in the universe is made up of a masculine and feminine polarity. And these two need to be in harmony. It doesn't necessarily mean they need to be in perfect balance, because balance is relative. Balance is relative according to what extreme you're at, what degree of harmony you're at. So let me be clear, I'm saying there needs to be a harmony with feminine qualities within the masculine. It doesn't mean that they need to be perfectly balanced, but there needs to be a harmony. There needs to be an acknowledgement. There needs to be a consciousness of it, on how softness and tenderness are important with a man and how they treat women. It doesn't mean that women need to be masculine, need to be tough and compete the way men do. Women have their own attributes that make them unique and powerful. But the women must understand how to live in harmony with the masculine. No more, none of this using, manipulating, gaslighting, all of this nonsense, this entitlement, this simping, trying to take advantage, manipulate men for their resources, making men the bad guys. That's what the narcissistic, psychopathic oligarchy has been trying to do. Turn us against each other. It has been an anti-union, an anti-Christ hierarchy, an anti-Christ oligarchy. So what we need is a heirogamy, heirogamos, a union of opposites. So some things that you want to pay attention to as far as these narcissistic, psychopathic behaviors, habits, tendencies, because we've grown up in this world where that has been enabled, where justice is not served, where the narcissists and psychopaths get away, and the innocent and the victimized are always made to be crazy, out of their mind, lost it. We need to pay attention to the behaviors in which I cover all in Soul Symphonics, the social terrain, and under this concept I call love consciousness, which is relational consciousness. So some of these behaviors, which are narcissistic maladaptations that we've all learned in order to survive and maladapt to this corrupt way of living, this corrupt societal structure where narcissists and psychopaths get away with murder, crime, exploitation, rape, pillage, pedophilia, kidnapping children, and putting the blame on men, where men carry this tremendous burden and we're shamed for emotions. A lot of women say they want us to be emotionally available, but the second that we do show this emotional availability, most women literally capitalize off of it and use it against them. So all of this whole societal structure of this narcissistic psychopathic oligarchy has created so much narcissistic psychopathic maladaptations, which essentially cuts each other off from our own hearts. So the behaviors you want to pay attention to is obviously narcissistic contempt, unrequested criticism, control, manipulation, using people for their talents, their resources, their services, they're using them for sex, attention. This is the maladaptation of the narcissistic psychopathic way. And a lot of people who still have a good heart, a lot of people who are here to create change, have a heart where you still see the goodness in people, but you realize real quick that not everyone sees the world the way you do. And so for you, what you need to understand, if you are this type of person, you need to understand the boundaries for your overgiving. You need to understand the boundaries for your overcaring. And where the wounds come from in order for you to do that. You see, this narcissistic psychopathic world is what programmed you to do that. Because most likely you survived some type of abuse where you've had to erase yourself in order to survive. You've had to ignore your sacred primary needs in order to survive. You've had to erase your voice. And what happens is you have this very low self-worth. There's very low self-esteem. And so when any of these people who are looking to manipulate, capitalize, excessively take, which is another behavior, excessively taking, you as a maladaptation, a codependent maladaptation, overgive, overfunction, people please, make sure everyone is happy while you erase yourself. So you need to pay attention to the way you overgive, the way you overfunction, There needs to be boundaries with your talents, with your God-given gifts. There needs to be sacred boundaries, because there are people in this world, in this type of structure of a societal dysfunction, that are here to exploit you, that are here to take advantage of you, that are here to twist stories and are willing to cut you off in a heartbeat because they are not connected to their heart. So your emotional availability, this sacred vulnerability, is extremely sacred, and it should not be just given away to anyone, because you're gonna learn real quick the true evil in this world that exists. But I want you to understand that I'm not saying this to live in paranoia. I'm not saying this to develop a hate. This is for your own good, for your own benefit, on how to develop this inner strength that you need, that God has placed a dream in your heart, a mission in your soul to fulfill and contribute to the evolution of humanity, to the union consciousness of humanity, to the harmony and higher order of humanity. All of these trials, tribulations with evil, with narcissistic psychopaths, sociopaths, they're here to awaken you. And little by little, these are your initiations, but I'm trying to help you so you are aware of these things before it really takes you out, because it does take some people out. But the more you create these boundaries and you're able to see these patterns, the less these manipulators can take advantage of you. The more you have sovereignty and consciousness over your own gifts, your own dream, and your own mission that God has put in your heart. And through Soul Symphonics, I've created a very holistic, integrative framework that is meant to cultivate this inner truth within you, so it becomes so strong, so you are so grounded and anchored in truth, metaphysical law, natural laws, is so aligned with God that that is your protection in this world, that no one can take advantage of you, because Soul Symphonics is designed to cultivate that soul esteem that this world has zapped out of most people. It cultivates a healthy, well-developed nervous system, which is critical for receiving love, feeling secure in your own body, for activating your highest expressions of your own creativity, your own potential. It's important for extremely healthy, secure relationships. Soul Symphonics is a very holistic, integrative philosophy, art, and science that is designed to help you dial it in, where we're not getting so stuck in just thinking, working through magic, where we're not getting stuck in the Ahrimanic thinking like, oh, okay, we just need to stick to a good diet. It's all of the above, and I go over it all in a very clear, coherent framework, which is Soul Symphonics. So those of you who have been just going through initiation after initiation, you need to understand these behavior patterns: the narcissistic contempt, the unrequested criticism, the control, stonewalling, which they try to portray as boundaries, which is actually not boundaries. Boundaries are meant to protect the sacredness of respect, honor, and care in relationship to self, others, and all. It is not meant to desecrate it. Stonewalling erodes trust. Stonewalling desecrates respect, honor, and care. Stonewalling prevents communicating to repair rupture in relationship. So I just want you all to know and be aware of these patterns. You have to pay attention to patterns, not potential. Those of you who have a good heart, who believe everyone sees the world the way you do, the way we do, we have to stop hanging on potential and pay attention to people's patterns. People who groom you, who excessively compliment you. Be aware of people who excessively compliment you. A compliment here and there, hey, that's beautiful. Receive it, own it, and be thankful and grateful for it. But don't feed off of it. If you feed off of it, you're feeding an inner wound. And again, Soul Symphonics is a very methodical way to do shadow work, to integrate all of these unprocessed emotions that we've suppressed, like the 4 hidden horsemen of what I call grief, shame, inadequacy, and terror/dread. And again, with grief comes resentment, rage, anger, all of these things. With inadequacy comes insecurity. So to process these things, Soul Symphonics is a very methodical way to process this in a very digestible way. It's very practical. Everything is practical. And it's fully integrative. I cross a lot of different methodologies, a lot of different fields of study: interpersonal development psychology, psychoneural endocrinology, psychoneural immunology. I cross a lot of different things, a lot of metaphysics, a lot of philosophy, a lot of ancient wisdom, a lot of functional medicine. I branch a lot of different things, and I've coherently tied it in a bowl for you to guide yourself through this crazy matrix. So pay attention to these patterns in people, because they do not play. You think it's all fun and games till you realize that they are not here to reciprocate the same kind of love that you are willing to give. Some other patterns you want to pay attention to is the gaslighting, where they make you feel like you're in the wrong for calling them out on their bullshit, for calling them out on their criminal behavior, for calling them out on their abusive behavior. They flip it on you, gaslighting, and they make like you are completely psycho and lost and out of your mind for actually seeing the manipulation. But pay attention to this. And so when I say pay attention to these patterns, you want to pay attention to it in yourself as well, because yes, we all as a human being have developed some level of this dysfunctional, toxic, unconscious, subconscious love, aka narcissistic, psychopathic, codependent styles of relating. The narcissistic codependent dynamic is both rooted in wounded child archetypes functioning in adult bodies. But the way the wound expresses through the narcissist is a little different from the way the wound expresses through the codependent. Which is why I'm telling you, pay attention to the overgiving, the overtaking, the taking advantage of your gifts, your talents, your resources, or sex, attention. Pay attention to all these patterns. People who operate in these patterns, who lie, cheat, and steal, whose words do not match their actions consistently, you have to pay attention to patterns, not potential. Pay attention to patterns, and it takes time to watch the patterns. Stay up, fam. This is your time. You have to move with precision. Open your eyes, open your heart. I'm not saying that you need to close off your heart and live in paranoia. I'm saying you need to live with discernment and let the love continue to flow out of your heart, but you just have to pay attention to who tries to leech on and feed off of that. All right, fam, stay up.